here's how surveillance capitalism works, just in brief. You know, it begins with these companies claiming, unilaterally claiming, our private human experience as their free source of raw material. So what do they do with that raw material? They lift out of it the rich predictive signals in our behavior, and they turn that into data. These behavioral data, you can think of it as a complex set of pipes, supply chains. So the behavioral data now is scraped from our experience, it goes into the supply chains, then it gets tipped onto the conveyor belts and right into the new factories. What happens in those factories? Well, that's where we talk about things like artificial intelligence, machine intelligence. The new factories are computational.
But give us a practical example of how that data is being harvested, and then how is it being used in order to, let's say, make us buy certain things that we might actually not want to buy.
Absolutely. So what comes out the other end of the factory? Well, we always know factories make products. So what's coming out of these factories are products that predict our behavior. They are computational products that predict what we will do soon and later. And they're not, even though they are about us, they're not for us. They're not sold to us. They're not meant to enhance our own lives. They're sold to business customers who want a leg up on what we're going to do in the future. So here's an example. We know that, for example, right now in London, there's a lot of discussion about the CCTV cameras everywhere who are taking everybody's faces without their knowledge, therefore without their permission and so on. And there's a lot of controversy about this. But what everyone needs to know is that the tech companies, the private sphere, has fought for the right to take our faces from any kind of public space, to take our faces off the web.
Have they got that right?
They have, well, certainly in the US, they have that right. They have unilaterally claimed the right, and no government in the US, all during the years of the Obama administration, and since then, no government has obstructed that right. So anywhere that you are in a public space, certainly in the US, the tech companies can take your face. Why do they want your face so badly? Well, first of all, obviously, it's very important to know who's doing what and where they're going and where they are and so forth. But there are even deeper reasons. There are many, many muscles in the face, and those muscles can combine into hundreds of different kinds of gestures. They do facial recognition analysis to compute those gestures because those gestures predict emotion. And once they know what you're feeling, that becomes one of the most powerful predictors of your behavior. Now, that kind of behavioral insight is sold to business customers. So, for example, we know about a Facebook document that was leaked to the press in Australia, written by Facebook executives to their Australian and New Zealand business customers. And what do they sell them in this document? They say, we have so much detailed data on behavior and emotion from 6.4 million young, teenage, and young adult people who live in New Zealand and Australia. And through this intense depth and range of data, we know their emotional cycles through every day and through the week.
But is that actually true, or is that just a boast?
Well, it appears to be true. I mean, you know, someday we'll get into Facebook and we'll do the forensics, and because we'll have the law to allow us to do that. Right now, from everything we know and everything we can triangulate, it appears to be true because it dovetails with the findings of researchers who have, academic researchers indeed, who have been developing these very capabilities literally since the year 2008, 2009, 2010, where these kinds of data capture, data analysis translating into emotional and behavioral insights that predict future behavior. We know that these capabilities exist and have been proven.
So this facial recognition technology that you talk about goes way beyond what Cambridge Analytica was trying to do, for instance, doesn't it?
Well, Cambridge Analytica was, as you know, a small firm. We're still trying to figure out exactly what it did do. But even those things we know, what it suggests is that this little firm was a parasite, and it was the parasite on a much larger host. Face value, it looks like that much larger host was Facebook. But what we know is that Facebook is a pioneer surveillance capitalist. Essentially, 97% of Facebook's revenues come from its online targeted advertising markets, which are wholly owned and operated in this surveillance capitalist economic logic. So Cambridge Analytica is a parasite on the host of surveillance capitalism. All of its mechanisms and methods, all of its data, all derive from surveillance capitalism, simply pivoting those operations a few degrees from trying to acquire guaranteed commercial outcomes, achieving guaranteed commercial outcomes for business customers, to instead trying to achieve guaranteed political outcomes for a political customer, if you will, in this case, a secretive software billionaire who owned that company and was using it to manipulate the public for his political aims.
So it's the same business model, but one is about getting you to buy stuff and the other one is about getting you to vote in a certain direction.
To vote in a certain way, to think in a certain way, to align yourself with certain groups, to read certain kinds of materials, and yes, ultimately, in order to add momentum to a political point of view, to the point of actually voting.
Isn't the success